CNASWP 17. This side event is really dedicated to supporting the development of the food analytical community in the Southwest Pacific, and also to accompany all the efforts of method development, method validation, method standardization that are needed for a number of standards that are being considered for development within the region. My name is Samuel Godefroy. I'm a professor of food risk analysis and regulatory policies at Laval University in Quebec, Canada. And I have the privilege to serve as the Chief Operating Officer of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, GFORCE, which is a disciplinary organization specialized in food regulatory science of the International Union of Food Science and Technology, IOFOST. IOFOST is an observer organization of Codex, and we have been privileged to contribute to the proceedings of CCNASWP and work with a number of members and other observers. We're going to have this event as informal as possibly be, so we're going to start perhaps to have a tour de table to introduce colleagues who are here in the room. The room is large, so it appears as if like there aren't many people around, but there's really a critical mass of colleagues from the region. So perhaps we could start from my left, so Australia, and Scott Murch.
Thank you, Samuel. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Murch, and I'm the Director of Codex Australia at the Australian Government Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry. My role is to coordinate Australia's participation in Codex and its various committees. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nancy Ng. I'm with the Food and Nutrition Directorate at Health Canada. I guess the files I look after are the Codex and trade files. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name is Ngā Tokon Puluwinaka, and I'm the head of biosecurity in the Gardens, and as well the Codex contact point. And I've been involved with Codex for the last, I miscount, probably the last 15 years, 20 years. The initiating of the CCNASWP, I was one of the original members, still around, and I hope will contribute positively to the discussion this evening, and probably will help. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Lisa Ralph from the Ministry of Primary Industries in New Zealand, and I'm the Codex contact point. Yeah, thank you.
Bula Vinaka. Thank you, Professor Sam. My name is Kim Whaley from the Ministry of Agriculture. Also a member of the National Codex Committee for Fiji. Thank you.
Bulavinaka, my name is Taina, and I'm with the Ministry of Health, managing the Food Safety Unit, and looking forward to the discussion. And thank you to Samuel for the assistance being rendered so far with regards to technical aspect of food. Thank you.
Bulavinaka. My name is Jeremiah with the University of the South Pacific, also part for the Fiji National Codex Committee.
Bulavinaka. My name is Ronald Prasad, and I work for Biosecurity Authority of Fiji as a team leader for trade facilitation and compliance, and it speaks out itself for trade facilitation and compliance, more towards Codex in terms of food safety. So we ensure at the border, protecting our borders to ensure that we are in compliance with the food standard. And I'm also part of the Fiji Codex committee. Thank you very much, and looking forward for this fruitful 1 hour session with you. Thank you.
Mbulubinaka, my name is Pene Amua from the Ministry of Agriculture, the Research Division, Binaka.
Good afternoon. My name is Kasanita Ratu, and I work for Ministry of Agriculture under the Crop Extension Division. This is my first time to attend the Codex meeting, and I'm looking forward to the discussions this afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Martha. I work with the National Fisheries Authority in PNG. I work as an audit and certification officer. We're more involved with the food safety aspect of fisheries in the country. So it is my first time to take part in the Codex meeting, as NFA is one of the partners in the one of the committee members in our Codex in our country. Thank you.
Salafalava, Bulavinaka. I am Nfoanga Lisalde, delegate from Samoa, and I work at the Scientific Research Organization of Samoa as a senior technical scientist, also a member of Codex back home in providing scientific advice or evidence regarding any food standards. Thank you.
Hello, Alketa and Bula, everyone. Gilric Joshua from Vanuatu. I work with Farmer Plus program, which is specific horticultural and agricultural market access program, which also has a regional office here in Suva, Fiji. So I'm the national facilitator for the Farmer Plus program in Vanuatu, and we do support our partners with work related to Codex, and so hence being fortunate to be part of this CCNASWP 17 and also this side event this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome to you all, and thank you for being here on this evening. You know, I know it's so we'll try to make really this hour and a half as useful and hopefully as interactive as possibly be. We are joined by a number of colleagues online. We're not going to go through probably all the participants online. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves when their turn to contribute to the program comes, but also for those who are joining us, if they wish to contribute, of course, I would ask you to introduce yourselves before making your intervention. I would like to mention that this session is also streamed live on the YouTube channel of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, and also is shared on various social media means of GForce. So the objective really of this session is to continue the dialogue around building and strengthening the food laboratory community within the Southwest Pacific region, also contributing to the efforts of development and validation of some of the needed methodologies related to some of the standards under discussion, in particular in relation with the standard on kava and Noni Juice. And there are some target analytes that have been identified for that purpose. Now, in order to do that, I believe I would like just to recall a side event that we conducted 2 years ago on the margins of the 16th session of CCNASWP, where there was a recommendation, in fact, 2 years ago, to create a Southwest Pacific section of what is known as FAO-WHO International. FAO-WHO International, for those working in the food analytical, food and environment or agriculture analytical community, is a very known organization. It's over 100 and I think 50 years, oh no, 140 years old. So we're going to have an introduction. So it was founded in 1884. And I believe the Southwest Pacific region was one of the regions where we did not have a dedicated section. So in fact, that recommendation was acted upon, and we are witnessing now the birth of the youngest section of AOAC International, that is the Southwest Pacific section of AOAC International. So this is our agenda. Our agenda, we will start by introducing, in fact, some of the leaders that were the proponents and were behind the creation of the Southwest Pacific section of AOAC International. Hopefully, you're going to learn more about AOAC and what it does, and particularly how it can contribute at the regional level to address some of the priorities. So we're going to have an introduction also of the Southwest Pacific section. We will also learn from another part of the world where there was also recently an effort to create a similar type of endeavor, so similar regional section, and how they recently organized themselves again to support the food analytical community and to support both capacity building and standardization efforts. Then we will be zeroing in on some of the priorities of this region and priorities that have been discussed as part of CCNASWP 17. We have been discussing the efforts to generate data related to Scopoletin in Noni Juice. And we will have a discussion about those particular efforts and how we can plan activities that would help to develop, validate methods, but also to contribute to data collection. Data collection that is needed if we are ever to hope that JECFA, so the Joint Expert Committee on Food Additives, which also looks at the safety of various chemical substances that may occur in food, Scopoletin was identified as a priority substance as part of the efforts of the Codex Committee on Contaminants in Food. But for JECFA to study that, we will need to have data to be submitted to the GEMS Food database, and we'll also have a little reminder of the GEMS Food database. And then we will have an informal discussion about charting a path forward of collaboration. Also, hopefully we'll learn more about the efforts that are underway within the region to build both quality infrastructure, but also about all what is happening in the food laboratory community and how we can work together, particularly to organize the work around Scopoletin. We might have also, at the same time, I've heard that there are some activities related to CAVA as well, and some of our contributors from Australia will be also providing us with a briefing on that. So that might link into the efforts that we have around the CAVA analytical methods. So that's what we have so far. We'll start without further ado, and I'm going to invite Dr. George Joseph. George is, in fact, a member of the board of directors of AOAC International. He is from New Zealand, and he is, in fact, I would say, the flag bearer for the region within AOAC International and the board of directors. George, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and introduce AOAC International to us. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Sami. So as I said, as Sami said, my name is George Joseph. I work as a technical manager for a chemistry business under a New Zealand SOE state-owned enterprise called Assure Quality. Since 2004 for the last 20 odd years. And I also work alongside with AOAC International as a member of their board of directors. And I'm also the chair-elect for the official method board of AOAC International. I work alongside with ISO on their TC 34 subcommittee 14 on the vitamins. And I did work with a Codex strategy group previously to get the AOAC method across to Codex. That was my probably the best touch point that I had with Codex previously. So can you all see the slides? I believe you can all see and hear me properly as well.
Yes, we can see it now. It's full screen. Thanks, George.
Thank you. So this is actually AOAC International is established in 1884, as Sami correctly said. It's 140 years was last year, so it is 141 years this year. And the vision is a global alignment of trusted analytical solutions. And mission with the advanced food safety and product integrity through standards, validated test methods, and laboratory quality systems. So you could probably see the area of the activity that AOAC International, which is a non-for-profit or non-profit association, which is also a standard developing organization, one of the leading standard developing organization in chemistry methods, I would say. So AOAC International was formerly known by different names: Association of Official Agricultural Chemists. That's how we actually 1884 started. It's part of the USDA, later become part of FDA and become an independent in 1970s. And it actually a consensus builder, global trade facilitator, international membership association, and it's about in 2020 it becomes the Association of Official Analytical Collaboration, because before 2020 it was a short period of time. It was known as the Association of Official Analytical Chemists. Every time the abbreviation AOAC International has been kept as it is. The reason for the name change to collaboration, from chemist to collaboration, because AOAC International started involved in building microbiology standards as well. So a fit for purpose name has been chosen in 2020. That's why the collaboration is being chosen. So AOAC International has got three categories of membership. They got individual membership and organizational membership of different levels, and also a free student membership, which is started a couple of years ago to attract new students and developing talents to be a part of AOAC International. And they actually enjoy discounts on publications, events, and training. They do have 2 meetings. There is a mid-year meeting in March. In 2025, there is no mid-year meeting for various other reasons. But normally they do have a mid-year meeting and then an annual meeting, usually in August. That's why this year, end of August, it's happening as well. And they do have 2 publications, like laboratory management, Inside Laboratory Management, or it's popularly known as ILM magazine. It's monthly, and a Spectrum as a weekly electronic newsletter. And they do have a TDLM, technical divisions for laboratory management, and there is a TDRM, technical division for reference material. They do have a huge database helping method developers to provide with the reference materials. They do have something around 2,500 individual members, which involves competent personalities and individuals from various organizations across the globe, including laboratory managers, analytical chemists, scientists, microbiologists, and more. They do have 100+ organizational members. The organizational members involve, so the entire organization is part of they do pay a premium membership fees, and as a result, the entire members or a number of members from that organization can actually avail these membership benefits as well. The active cooperation agreements are currently, recently they've been expanding the horizon, especially with the development of infant formula standards by a globally well-known activity called SPIFAN, Stakeholder Panel for Infant Formula and Adult Nutrition. That's what SPIFAN stands for. And the SPIFAN activity really, because the food is a global commodity, especially infant formula that's been manufactured and traded across the globe. And with that activity, they did actually reached out to other standard developing organizations like ISO, IDF, and they have memorandum of understanding between these organizations and AOAC International. Some of the active corporations, they have ISO IDF TC 34, Technical Committee 34 of ISO IDF is the committee that handle vitamins and other micronutrients, and ISO TC 134 with the fertilizers standards, FSSAI, which is the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, CIFST, NMKL, Nordic methods, ARSO, AIS, AACIL, IAFNS, and Land O'Lakes Ventures 37, which is part of the FAO activity here. And AOAC is the US Technical Advisory Group Administrator for ISO TC 34, which is the Vitamins and Micronutrients Technical Committee. One of the recent change, I would say 15 years since 2010, there is a new way of developing standards, analytical standards, that is actually founded by AOAC International. That's by the development of standard method performance requirement. So even before a method's been sought or method being called in for publication, the experts in the industry sit together and develop a standard method performance requirement. What that means is the typical method performance requirements like repeatability, reproducibility, accuracy, limit of detection, quantitation, linearity and range, all that kind of parameters that you expected of a international standard is being actually explored. And then you write a document called SMPR. AOAC SMPR can be downloaded from AOAC website. There is a range of AOAC SMPRs being developed for the analytical methods. Once these SMPRs been developed, AOAC reached out to method developers looking for methods. So previously, the method developers actually validate method without an SMPR. So there is no target, I would say. They don't have to comply with anything. Say they develop and validate, and whatever the result of the validation is been published as the method performance parameters. But since the introduction of the SMPR, the method developers are actually pushed on limits to achieve better and more compliant method performance parameters for their methods. And AOAC expert review panel will look at the method performance parameters before being considered that as a global standard. And this is actually, there is an extensive standard guidelines, and SMPR has been published by AOAC International, which look at various situations and range of conditions that, different level of analyte concentration, different matrices, so on and so forth. And method conformity assessment, official methods of analysis, that's the highest standards of the product and services that AOAC International offers, and the performance test methods, which is, kit and kit manufacturers get endorsement from AOAC International as a performance tested methods. That's PTM stands for. That's a different level of recognition by AOAC International. Proficiency testing. So it's another area that AOAC actually started 10 years ago. They do have a range of proficiency programs that the laboratory can participate. ISO IEC 17043 accredited programs, and so all the proficiency program is accredited by the ISO 043 accredited program. So that's the laboratory proficiency program standard across microbiology, chemistry, and hemp and cannabis programs. PTM, or Performance Tested Method, independent third-party review and certification for user-based proprietary test method performance, validation of test kits, or AOAC directly involved, or the technical personnel within AOAC, or technical experts or technical consultants directly involved, or work with the test kit manufacturers if they actually enrolled for the PTM program. I'd say it's a parallel or complementary program to the official methods of analysis. So that's going parallel. So in terms of the competentia, the comprehensive collection over 3,000 chemistry, microbiology, and molecular biology methods are part of AOAC's standard official methods of analysis. And also methods undergo rigorous scientific scrutiny to ensure that they are credible and defensible, and they do continuously get feedback and from the users of these methods and provide increased confidence in the analytical results. Referenced by regulations and government agencies, they've been widely recognized as valid analytical standards, adopted as internationally harmonized reference method by other standard developing organizations such as ISO and IDF. So a lot of the methods that developed by AOAC International, especially in the infant formula category, being adopted by ISO and IDF. If you look at the method, they will have cross-reference to AOAC, but ISO and IDF standards have a different format. Obviously, the difference is only in the format of the method, but the method is exactly the same. And these methods been adopted, a lot of these methods been adopted by a Codex Alimentarius Commission and recommended methods of analysis and sampling. And these methods are called global
I have a Zoom issue, and actually it's really around one of the most important elements.
Okay, Sami, thank you. Do you want to expand on that, or anyone has got any questions on that?
George, I think we are having a connection issue with you.
Right. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, George.
I guess we lost them.
I can hear you, George.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you.
Yes, George, we can hear you.
Right. Sami, what about the team there?
Yeah, I think we can hear you now. We were just actually at the fact that AOAC standards can be an input to CXS 234/1999, which is essentially the main compendium of methods under Codex.
Yeah.
Which is essentially where we hope that the CAVA and the Scopoletin method would make their way through. I mean, we have already a Scopoletin method that made its way through right now to that particular standard. So I don't know, George, given the time, do you have maybe other key messages that you would like to share before introducing perhaps the Southwest Pacific section? I'm going to let you maybe make some concluding remarks for this introduction, if you don't mind.
Sure, will do. So I think I'm not going through the Codex standards, which is you're all familiar with the Codex standard 234/1999, which has been last amendment 2023. So that's been shown. These are the methods that's been developed by AOAC International as part of the SPIFAN activity, and it's been adopted by the ISO TC34 and the IDF committee, and they made its way to Codex Alimentarius standards. So some of the programs that's been AOAC actively involved, this is exactly where we want the activity that we're looking at for the CAVA and Noni Juice. The SPIFAN, I already spoke about SPIFAN. SPADA programs on stakeholder program on agent detection assays, gluten and food allergens programs, AOAC International Microbiological Standards, BITC, CASP on cannabis, and there are new protein, novel foods programs underway as well. So a range of scientific initiatives and projects underway with AOAC International in collaboration with various stakeholders, and there's including some of the activity that AOAC Southeast Asia section, the cyanide in cassava, is in progress. So this range of activity, which I don't want to, with the time, this is a snapshot of the AOAC International Organization, the 15 regional section, Atlantic, Mid-Canada, Midwest US, Pacific, and Southern US, Latin American, Caribbean, and Africa, Arab, Europe, Lowlands, China, India, Japan, Southeast Asia, and Taiwan. So Southwest Pacific is going to be added on to this. This is a newest section that's coming up. Okay, with that, I actually conclude my session, Sami, unless otherwise the team wanted to know anything more about AOAC or something we can talk about for practical assistance that AOAC can actually help the team with building standard on local food commodities. So most welcome to ask questions or
Can you hear me still, George, or not?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Sami.
Okay, I said that you're going to be sticking around, right, for the remainder of the event in case some questions are emerge.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I will be here, Sami. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I would like to acknowledge that we have been joined by the Assistant Minister of Agriculture and Waterways of the Government of Fiji. So welcome, Your Excellency, and I would like to give you the floor to make an introduction, please.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be given this time to have an introduction into the meeting. I'm sorry I could not join the meeting from the start of the week because of some engagement in parliamentary standing committees. But I had really wanted to be part of this meeting since requirement for Fiji to have some standards in cover had been a long process ever since I was part of the government ministry. I had spent my younger days with the Ministry of Agriculture until I retired back in 2019. And I'm very thankful that the ministry and Codex had continued to work actively on trying to get standards and even Codex to be part of the work that's been done here in the Pacific for kava, especially when kava is becoming a livelihood for a lot of Pacific Island nations. And we believe that it's going to be here for long. And we are thankful that we had come this far. And we think that, without the support of countries, and especially with the US and Codex, we wouldn't have really achieved a lot of what we had in the past. And for that, I would like to extend on behalf of the Minister and on behalf of the government of Fiji, our deep appreciation for the work and support given to Fiji and the Pacific Island nations that produces kava and also turmeric and other products on the work of Codex. And we look forward to their continuous support in future. I will be visiting the US on Saturday, and this again on cover, just to see the markets in the US and how we could align ourselves to the US market, especially in terms of the standards. And I'm very thankful that this meeting had come in the right time. Also, when Fiji is trying to put in place a cover bill to safeguard the industry, since for long it has not really been supported well in terms of policies and in terms of the bills. So thank you very much for the support, and we look forward to your continuous support on Fiji and especially with other Pacific Island nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the Honorable Tomasi Tunabuna, the Assistant Minister of Agriculture and Waterways. And Your Excellency, on behalf of the participants here, we'd like to reiterate our thanks and appreciation to the government of Fiji and to your ministry in particular for hosting this event, for enabling this level of discussion around food standardization. And we're very hopeful again that through the collaborative effort of everybody, we will contribute to the development of international and regional standards that serve the region and the agriculture and food production sector within the Southwest Pacific region and in Fiji in particular. Thank you very much again. So we will continue our program, and in fact, focusing on the Southwest Pacific region after hearing about AOAC International as an organization that supports standardization, and also we see the link between AOAC International and Codex. As I mentioned, we have witnessed recently the creation of the most recent or the youngest section of AOAC International, the youngest geographic section, that is the Southwest Pacific section. And I'm going to be inviting Stuart Jones, who also represents the Asia Pacific Analytical Network, to introduce this effort and the creation of the section. Stuart, welcome, joining us from Perth, Australia.
Thanks very much, Samuel. Would I be able to share my screen? Let's see what we can do.
You should be, yes.
Yep. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, we do. So if you can go into full screen. Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So just an introduction to the newest section. So can you see the next slide?
Thank you.
You can see this, the next slide?
Yes, we can do. We can see the maps, yes.
Okay, thank you. So the establishment of the AOAC Southwest Pacific section has been talked about for many years, and it covers the areas of Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. And in particular, these countries that also include Australia and New Zealand, which are very much a part of the Southwest Pacific region. So it's really thanks to the Coordinating Committee in the meeting in Fiji in January, so 2 years ago, that noted that the AOAC Southwest Pacific section would stimulate experience sharing and collaborative efforts of data generation. Following that impetus, we were able to get things moving. So in November 2023, we asked for expressions of interest in the formation of the AOAC Southwest Pacific section, sought from APFAN's 3,500 members. And in January last year, we received 90 expressions of interest saying that they wish to see the formation of such a section. 60 were from within the region and 30 from personnel outside of the region. In March 2024, the logo and bylaws of the section were designed. In April 2024, an invitation to host the section was sent to the Chemical Society of the South Pacific in Fiji. And in June 2024, the Chemical Society of the South Pacific accepted the nomination to host the section. In August 2024, the formation of the section was first raised at the AOAC International Board meeting with the intention to discuss further at the December 2024 meeting. In September, a petition to charter the section was sent to the 60 signed expressions of interest within the region, and more than 20 of these then pledged their support for the operation and management of the proposed section. In October, the application to charter the section was drafted. In November 2024, a Zoom meeting was held with the pledged respondents to the petition to charter in order to call for nominations for the Southwest Pacific Section Executive. And in December 2024, the executive positions of the Southwest Pacific Section were assigned and the bylaws finalised, and all documents were then sent to AOAC International for consideration at their board meeting on the 17th and 18th of December. In January and February of this year, due diligence has been conducted by AOAC International, and in September this year, we are hoping that once the formation of the section has been ratified, then a joint APFAN AOAC Southwest Pacific Section and Oceania Foods workshop can be conducted in Fiji in September 2025. I have great pleasure in introducing the executive of the section. The president is Vincent Lau from Fiji. The president-elect who is at this meeting is Justin Narimbi from Papua New Guinea. Vice President 1, Gavin Rose from Australia. Vice President 2, Kingsley Kalu from Australia. And we also welcome to this meeting our Secretary, Takara Fort from Australia, and our Treasurer, Susan McCarthy from Australia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart, for that update. And in fact, we had the opportunity to have Dr. Vincent Lau as the keynote speaker for the current session of CCNASWP at the beginning of the meeting. So it's really great to see this development, and also we welcome all the leadership of the Southwest Pacific section joining us today. So we'll definitely have the conversation about what the section can do for us and for the analytical community, and perhaps to showcase some of the activities that a section can help do within a particular region. We thought to share with you the experience of the second youngest section. I believe the Southwest Pacific section is the 20th regional or geographic section, and the 19th one, which was formed in March of 2022, is the section for the Arab region. And we are privileged to have the president of that section, Dr. Amina Souf, who happens also to serve as the research manager for the Global Food Regulatory Science Society. So, Amin, I'm going to give you the floor perhaps to give a quick overview of how the Arab section took that opportunity of creating a geographic entity, and how you are contributing to serving the needs of the region from food analytical development and standardization.
Thank you, Professor Samuel. Thank you, esteemed colleagues and participants. And first of all, I would like to congratulate our colleagues for the creation of their new section. And if you allow me in a few minutes to introduce the Arab section of AOAC International, mainly our vision, our mission, and our most recent activities and objectives in the Arab region. So I hope you can see my full screen and my slides.
Yes,
My name is Amin Aswouf. I am the research manager at the Global Food Regulatory Science Society and serving as the current president of the Arab section since its creation back in March 2022. So in this presentation, I will briefly introduce our section, just as Professor Samuel introduced, to give an example of what is a regional section of AOAC International and how a regional section can be of a help and can be effective in helping member countries of the region, member organizations and institutions in the region in order to attain analytical excellence regarding food, chemical, or microbiological analysis. In fact, our section was created back in March 2022, and it encloses all Arab countries, members of the League of Arab States. So we are 22 Arab countries, and we share countries also with the Africa section of AOAC International, which are the Arab African countries. And just to give you an example also of how these regional sections can interact with standardization organizations in the regions. So our section is officially hosted by the Arab Standardization Organization, which is the Arab Industrial Development Standardization and Mining Organization based in Rabat in Morocco. We also enjoy a very high-level partnership with the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council Standardization Organization, the GSO, and our section is operated by the Global Food Regulatory Science Society. Regarding our governance, so we invite you to check, if you wish, our website, thearabaoac.org, where we post all documents related to our governance. We have our bylaws. We have all the records of decisions of our meetings. We try to organize frequent meetings of our executive committee, especially that it was the first mandate of the executive committee after the creation of the sanction. So we needed to be well organized, to meet frequently in order to put all the basis, the organizational basis of our section. Till now, we also organize 2 annual meetings. So as you know, regional sections, they have to organize annual meetings in order to bring the analytical community of the region. We have membership representation from 17 Arab countries out of 22. Till now, we admitted officially 137 members from the Arab region. All members working in the field of analytical sciences, whether from academia, from industry, or from government and governmental institution, are welcomed normally to be members in regional sections. Our main mission and vision, which is probably the main vision for regional sections, is to support the creation and development of an analytical community in the region under our mother institution, of course, the AOAC International, to support standardization of official analytical methods in the region, which is one of our main target and missions in the Arab region, and to create an enabling environment for the development of accredited food and agriculture laboratories in the region, in our Arab region. So in order to briefly to answer these objectives or this mission or these aims, we tried and are trying to organize several gatherings, scientific gatherings in the Arab region. As I mentioned, 2 annual meetings till now. We support and participate to a lot of webinars, technical webinars, organized by the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, organized by the International Union of Food Science and Technology, which we support technically also as the Arab section of FAO-WHO. We also support inter-section collaboration, which we initiated. We are proud to say that we initiated in collaboration with the Southeast Asia section through the creation or through the implementation of a webinar on halal food certification, which could be a very practical and efficient example of intersection collaboration. And we will be privileged also to collaborate with the newly created section in your region. As I said also, we are working towards supporting standardization of official analytical methods. Particularly in the Arab region, we are working on several topics of an interest for the region, specifically gluten analytical testing, and the purpose of standardizing an Arab analytical method for gluten testing. In the framework of a broader, of course, gluten management initiative for the region. We support and organize technical trainings, as we did 2 times the last 2 years for gluten testing. At the same time, we are committed to support proficiency testing implementation through the proficiency testing program of FAO-WHO International in the Arab region. We are creating subcommittees. We have till now a subcommittee or a technical group, working group for proficiency testing in the Arab region. We have a working group for the development of SMPRs for gluten analytical methods in the Arab region. So that's a way also through creating and supporting subcommittees or technical groups in the region to push forward to attain objectives, answering challenges of the region. So just to summarize, our objective and the objective normally of regional sections is to promote membership, to promote networking from the region, whether from academia, government, industry, or other institutions within the region, but also with FAO-WHO International. We aim to pursue capacity building efforts in collaboration with our regional and international partners, and of course with our sister sections in the world. We aim to keep supporting efforts for analytical method standardization in the Arab region, and we aim to keep helping the analytical community in developing their capacities in the light of the specific needs and challenges of our region. Thank you so much for your attention.
thanks very much, Amin, for that great overview. And I guess, you know, to bring this really to this region, these are the things that we are hoping to see happen within the region, thanks to the creation of the Southwest Pacific section. You probably have noted, and I would like to reiterate, there is a free student membership to AOAC International. So we have the University of South Pacific represented here. Hopefully there will be more membership from the student community joining the food analytical community, and that will contribute, of course, to building this community within the region. Hopefully this will contribute to further networking of the laboratories, capacity building activities, and that's what we will be discussing hopefully for the Scopoletin part, and also proficiency testing programs. And in collaboration with AOAC International, we know that PT programs are indispensable to support developing and maintaining accreditation of laboratories against ISO 17025. So again, I wish the best of luck we wish the best of luck to the Southwest Pacific section, and we're going to be continuing to hear about what can be accomplished in the region in that regard. Now, bringing this really now to the connection with our work here within CCNASWP and CCNASWP 17. We have been discussing two analytical methods in relation with the two standards that have been developed and adopted within the region. We have a standard on kava, and we have a standard on Noni Juice. And both standards incorporate analytical method that help mainly conformity assessment against some particular criteria of quality parameters that are included in the standard. And before we get the discussion going around Scopoletin in particular, I would like to perhaps use this opportunity of having particularly Stuart with us, who is also a key proponent of the creation of the Southwest Pacific section. We know that there are several activities of quality infrastructure capacity development, several discussions related to method development, method validation, including around kava. And Stuart informed me, in fact, 2 days ago, that some of the initiatives could be helpful to the efforts that we are working towards. So, Stuart, I'm going to ask you to bring us up to speed about the quality infrastructure activities, what is happening within the Pacific Forum, and perhaps that will open the discussion around how we can synergize all these efforts to help the development and validation of methods here that are needed for the Codex standards.
Well, thank you, Samuel. I'll share my screen again. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes, we do. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think I should introduce myself. I used to work with the Australian National Measurement Institute, but since retirement, I've taken on other roles such as the coordinator of APFAN, the Asia Pacific Food Analysis Network. I'm the co-chair of the Capacity Building Working Group of AOAC Southeast Asia section. I'm a consultant to the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat, and I'm a consultant to the National Measurement Institute in Australia. So I've been doing international work for around 35 years ago, for the last 35 years. And I recall in 1997, there was a joint FAO-WHO consultation on the application of risk management to food safety matters. And the two things that they came out with was that food should be safe and food trade should be facilitated. And that made me come to the conclusion that implicit in the food safety and food trade systems is the existence of a reliable food analysis laboratory system to help identify and assess these risks. So the food testing laboratory is an integral part of food safety and food trade systems. Now, there are many organisations that have a shared goal to achieve this for food testing laboratories, and there's really too many to mention, but I would like to focus in on two in particular, and that is APFAN, the Asia Pacific Food Analysis Network, and PQII, the Pacific Quality Infrastructure Initiative. So firstly, with APFAN, it was established 36 years ago as a special project of the Federation of Asian Chemical Societies, and Dr. Howard Bradbury from the Australian National University was the founding coordinator. APFAN's mission is to serve the dual roles of food analysts in the areas of food safety and food trade, and the vision is to achieve equivalence of standards between economies in both of those systems. I'm really happy with the way APFAN is working because it focuses on both the Asia and the Pacific region. And when we look at the Asia Pacific region in total, it contains 42% of the world's trade and 60% of the world's population. APFAN's key activities include conferences on food analysis, analytical workshops, short courses and special projects, and preparation of reference materials in cooperation with ASEAN Foods. APFAN now has greater than 3,500 contacts in 73 countries. Samuel, I've got a black line across the bottom of my screen. Do you have a black line across the bottom of the screen?
We do, yes, we do, unfortunately. It's one of the Zoom annoyances. And I don't know if there is anybody on the team who can have a technical tip to have that removed. Please feel free to share that technical tip.
There's a chat there. No?
Yeah, it's gone now. The line is gone, actually, Stuart. So
okay, great. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I think all it needed is basically to be spoken to.
Yes. Okay, so that's where we are. So APFAN has been doing a lot of activities over the last 35 years. And in particular, it's been focusing on getting laboratories up to speed with the requirements of the ISO 17025 standard for laboratories, the international standard for laboratories, which has a number of requirements. And one of them in particular is the traceability of measurements. And that is that all of food laboratory or any laboratory's results need to be traceable in that they can go back through an unbroken chain of comparisons to the international system of units, the SI units. And if we just do a little side step here, if we look at the contaminants in foods, they can be physical, chemical, or microbiological. And with physical measurements, for example, a cockroach in fried rice, we only have to be concerned about the amount, or a piece of glass in food. We only have to worry about the amount. For chemical measurements, such as DDT in foods, we need to be concerned with the amount and confirmation of its identity because we can't see it. With microbiological measurements, we need to be concerned with the amount, the identity, and also the viability because these pathogens can grow or die, which is quite difficult really when you consider that microbiological hazards are the biggest food safety concern. For example, most cases of food poisoning are caused, 94% are caused by microbiological contamination. So the most difficult area in terms of achieving traceability is actually the biggest cause of food safety incidences. And the problem with a lot of Asia and Pacific laboratories is that in order to achieve traceability of these measurements, they need to either purchase reference materials or participate in proficiency testing. And both of these things can be very expensive for these laboratories. So APFAN since 2017 has been conducting low-cost analytical proficiency testing to improve food laboratory analyses in the Asia-Pacific region. And what we do is distribute free of charge proficiency testing materials to food analysis laboratories in the Asia-Pacific region. This is an example of the results that come back from these proficiency tests. Here we have 91 laboratories that were analysing moisture in food. And you can see there's quite a variation just in trying to determine moisture. Why? Because some laboratories dry at 100 to 105 degrees for between 2 and 24 hours. Some laboratories dry between 120, 135 degrees for between 3 and 5 hours. We can't even agree on a method for moisture in food. Once we perform the proficiency testing, then we've had workshops to discuss the results and hopefully try to get some uniformity in the way we conduct these methods. So we've had workshops in Jakarta, in Bangkok, in Manila, in Putrajaya, in Malaysia, which are all in the Asian region. And from an APFAN point of view, it will be great if we can have the PT5 workshop in Suva in September this year, and we're currently working on that. The second initiative that I'd like to talk about is the PQII, the Pacific Quality Infrastructure Initiative, which was endorsed at the Pacific Islands Forum Trade Ministers meeting in 2020. It was to go for 5 years, so until 2025, and it's a multi-donor funded program to enhance economic prosperity and people-centred development through improved quality infrastructure. And it's done this way, looking at quality governance and quality promotion, in particular organised through 3 committees: the Pacific Islands Standards Committee, the Pacific Islands Metrology Committee, and the Pacific Islands Testing Committee, which is the main committee that I've been involved with, and the main committee that is dealing with food laboratories and food testing. There's been many surveys of food testing laboratories in the Pacific, starting from 2005, so over the last 20 years, really. And in 2022, there was also another survey of food testing laboratories in the Pacific. And from the results of that survey, a report on the needs assessment of laboratories in the region was prepared in December 2022, which lists a number of capacity building recommendations, most of them that are allocated underneath the Pacific Islands Testing Committee. So there are work packages for this committee to oversee, including looking at testing, looking at conformity assessment, looking at capacity building, and looking at networking. So over the next 5 years, we're just in the process of negotiating with the European Union for funding for the next 5 years. And we expect the Pacific Islands Testing Committee to be involved in a number of areas, including preparation of a regional capabilities index, such as like a white pages or a yellow pages, that laboratories that are currently subcontracting work outside of the region will be able to look at who does what within the region and subcontract work locally rather than sending it outside of the region. From the last survey that we've done of laboratories last year, and as part of the submission to the European Union, we allocated the respondent laboratories into 3 levels. Level 1 are those laboratories that are accredited and well supported and could be candidates to become Pacific Island reference laboratories, maybe 2 or 3 laboratories within the region that could become pearls as level 1. Level 2 laboratories would be those that have a management system and are on the journey towards accreditation to the international standards. So they're level 2 laboratories. And usually that involves a visit or a desktop audit. And last year we visited the Solomon Islands National Public Health Laboratory to help them on their way towards accreditation. And the 3rd level would be those laboratories that don't even have a management system yet, And what the committee will be doing is providing online training to those laboratories to get started on that journey. And we're currently working with AOAC Southeast Asia section to develop some online training materials. We're also looking at national laboratory networks and international liaison. So that's just a couple of initiatives that are being conducted in the region to date. And so what does that mean for the newly developed AOAC Southwest Pacific section? Well, some of the things that the section could do is close cooperation with the PITC in the coordination of conformity assessment, analytical testing activities, including the establishment of the pearls. Close cooperation with the AOAC Southeast Asia section, and from an APFAN point of view, this brings the Asia and the Pacific regions together in its working groups on capacity building, emerging issues, harmonisation of methods, microbiology, and training of young scientists. The section could also have close cooperation with APFAN in its efforts to promote food safety and food trade in the Asia Pacific region, and joint organisation of the APFAN PT5 AOAC Southwest Pacific section PQII workshop that we hope to hold in Suva in September this year. Other things that the section could get involved in includes exploration of issues relevant to Indigenous foods from a value-added point of view, exploration of issues relevant to authenticity or provenance, for example, with seafood, exploration of issues relevant to microplastics and other residues and contaminants, such as PFAS, and investigation of the properties of agricultural products of unique importance to trade for Pacific countries. And there's a number of areas we can get involved in. And I'd just like to highlight a couple of those, being cassava and kava. So firstly, with cassava, cassava produces natural cyanide or cyanogens under stress, and high levels can cause a disease called Komzo disease, which results in permanent paralysis of the legs, usually in children and mothers. So cyanide in cassava is a food safety issue, and we have known this for 30 or 40 years. But recently we've realised that cyanide in cassava is a food trade issue, in that some laboratories use acid hydrolysis and some laboratories use enzymatic hydrolysis, and that's just a disaster for getting different results from the two different methods. So we have challenges in cyanide in cassava, including there's no reference materials available, proficiency testing studies until now have not been conducted, and there's no standard method available. So under the PQII, last year we performed a round-robin comparison test of cyanide in cassava. We distributed cassava chip samples around the Asia-Pacific region. We got 9 laboratories to send their results back. And as you can see, the results range from anywhere from less than 0.01 all the way up to 146 milligrams per kilogram, which is ridiculous if we're trying to assess the safety or the compliance to trade regulations of cyanide in cassava. So there's more work required there. Also last year, we distributed kava samples as a pilot proficiency test for the samples to be analysed for proximates, trace metals, and also kava lactones and flavour curvains. Samples have been sent to 9 laboratories in the Pacific, and we're expecting a completed report to come out towards the end of March. So what does that mean? Well, whenever we do, can you still hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay.
I don't know why the recording stopped, but yes, we can.
Okay, do you want me to continue?
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. So from all of these studies and proficiency tests that we've done, we've found that there are significant differences in the methods that people use for even things that are as simple as moisture. some laboratories dry at 100 degrees, some dry at 120, and of course we're going to get different results. For protein, people use different factors. Do we use a combustion method or a Kjeldahl method? For fat, do we perform hydrolysis with or without hydrolysis? And for ash, what temperature do we ash at? And we looked at this, and APFAN, in association with ASEAN Foods, thought that we should update the methods manual that was originally published in 2011. But thinking about it, why should we start writing a complete set of methods when really all we need to do is say, for moisture, use AOAC method number 1, 2, 3. And that's really where we're heading, is that we're hoping that having AOAC in the Asia region and in the Pacific region will enable harmonisation of methods by adopting some of the AOAC official methods of analysis. So that's what we've been doing for the last 20 or so years, and onwards to the future. We're all working to the same goal, and if we keep talking to each other, I'm sure we will get there in the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart, for this great overview. And we consider that having this overview would be instrumental to ensure that any activity or any initiative that we think launching is done really with the knowledge of what's happening in order to harness every opportunity that is out there, and also to be able to avoid any duplication of efforts, rather actually create synergies between these. I mean, I've seen actually the reaction of some of the colleagues in the room when the discussions around kava and kava lactone testing. I take it actually that you have been involved in a number of these initiatives. Perhaps before moving forward now to the discussion part of our session, I would like to open the floor now for any questions, any comments that you may have on what you have heard, what you have learned, and perhaps even some of your suggestions and recommendations on how you see the analytical community in the region evolve, or how it should evolve to address the needs of the region, the needs of the development of the agriculture and food production sector here in the region. So the floor is open, and happy to hear your comments or even your questions if you have any. Scott, I can share the.
Thank you. Oh. Thanks, Sam. Mine was just a fairly specific question that just piqued my interest, and so it was about the kava work that's been done, and so that method harmonization work for measuring flavor carvanes and kava lactone. So is the intended output of that it would result in an AOAC official method of analysis?
Now I'm going to turn the question back to you, Stuart. I hope you heard the question. What is the objective? Yeah, so please.
Yeah, I think, and thanks for the question. I think the initial goal would be to harmonise the method, so we're all using the same method. But before we get to that, we need to decide what is the method that we're all going to use. And there are validation. As we've seen, AOAC has the method performance criteria, and it's essential that we do the testing through maybe one of the Pacific Island reference laboratories, that we spend a lot of time doing the validation, the measurement uncertainty, ensuring the traceability of the measurement, so that everybody's happy that this is the method that's going to get put forward. And the next thing would be to conduct a proficiency test where everybody uses the same method, the same recommended method, and ensure that the results produce a uniform set of data. And then once we've got all of that information, then we can put it up to AOAC as a possible international method. it would be the same with cyanide in cassava. I think the goal is to have an international method that everybody can agree on.
Thank you, Stuart. So perhaps actually to bring this in connection with what we have been trying to do here, and also one of the conclusions that will still need to be validated, of course, with the adoption of the report tomorrow, but one of the recommendations that is stemming from the discussions at CCNASWP 17. We do have right now a standard for kava products that has been already adopted by Codex, a regional standard. And within this regional standard, there was the identification of possible inclusion of analytical methods to help with the conformity assessment of some key parameters. One of the parameters is related to the kava varieties that can be included in the kava juice. And particularly around the nobility of these of kava that needs to be included in there. And part of the discussion right now is really to work on an analytical procedure that could help support this conformity assessment beyond basically the knowledge of what kava varieties are included. If one has not been witnessing the production process and wants to ensure still that what is provided to them is really a kava juice product that includes the right varieties, so the noble varieties, the intent is really to have an analytical process that would support that. And there were some discussions around a methodology that is based on a colorimetric or a UV-vis absorbance method based on an acetonic extract. And I guess what I would like maybe here to put to the group is the possibility of collaboration that we could have, including the APFA network, with the colleagues from Fiji, particularly, who are taking the lead on the development of this analytical protocol. Of course, our objective is quite ambitious for the time being, in the sense that we have been given, at least as part of the discussions and the conclusions of CCNASWP 17, the permission that if work takes place between now and March, we would be able to agree on an analytical protocol that would be fully characterized, fulfilling the requirements of CCMAS, so the Codex Committee on Methods of Analysis and Sampling, with the intent to submit this analytical protocol for examination by CCMAS at its upcoming meeting or at its upcoming session in May of this year. Now, of course, I'm saying this is ambitious. Now, CCMAS, I believe, meets more than once, or at least will be meeting more than once before the next session of CCNASWP, the next session being in 2 years' time, so CCNASWP 18. So this gives us also an additional leeway. I'm not saying that we should delay this, but this gives us also the opportunity to work together. If we manage to meet the March timelines, that's great. And here I think we need to draw on as much collaboration as possible from our Fijian colleagues and the analytical community, particularly the APFAN and the Southwest Pacific section. And again, really making sure that whatever we will submit, or whatever basically CCNASWP will be submitting for the examination by CCMAS, meets the requirements, so that we don't basically lose an opportunity of having the method endorsed by CCMAS, and making sure that at CCNASWP 18th we have been receiving such endorsement for the method to be included in the standard. So, Stuart, this is also to inform you and inform the analytical community of what the task that was given. Of course, this will be fully documented in the report that will be discussed tomorrow and hopefully adopted. But before we move forward with Scopoletin, I want to close maybe the topic on kava and see if there are any comments or any questions from our colleagues from Fiji in particular, taking the lead on this effort.
Thank you, Professor Samuel, and the team that is online with the work on AOC and wonderful presentations. Yes, we are now tasked looking into the kava analysis work in terms of its method analysis and sampling. We understand fully what's ahead of us in terms of meeting the requirements for CCMAS. Stuart Mbula from USPI is also here. Just to add on to what Professor Samuel mentioned, that our first method of interest is on a colorimeter in distinguishing between noble and non-noble varieties in terms of the presence and assessment of non-kava lactones, because we know noble varieties have a low absorbance in terms of for the colorimetric method. And later on, we will want to add other methods as confirmatory tests, including kava-lactone and flavocavins later on. We also Fiji, because we will be engaging, I think, shortly after this on our meetings, engaging Australia. Lovely comments we've received from them, and to discuss further on the SOP. I guess my question also today, will that invitation also extend to AOC if they want to join in also to assist with this particular method? We would really love their comments and their advice in terms of extensive years of experience around method performance. That is something from, I think, what Fiji would really love. We have a short time till March to get this data and requirements in place. If not that, future engagement of this before even the Southwest Pacific AOC is formed, we would love to engage with AOC, any experts. I'm sure all of you are on, but we welcome that invitation also. Thank you.
Very much, Jeremiah, for that. And I guess maybe the floor is back to you, George, Stuart, James. I'm looking at other colleagues, Takara, I guess, from the section, the leadership of the section, and this call for collaboration to work towards fulfilling the requirements and the needs of Fiji and the region to have this method. I see nodding, but you can take the floor. So see, we're looking for a commitment here, Stuart. You see?
Yeah, no, certainly I can see the concern. I think end of the day, we need to decide what we want to achieve. I'm not sure, because there is a lot of literature we need to go through, whether the kava is only a product, a regional product. Is this product made elsewhere in the world? And how is the profile look like? What's the active, what's the food safety concerns that product may have internationally? Because we basically looking at a product that we need to develop a standard for, so it can facilitate international trade. And the methods that we're looking at is actually endorsing that product safety and the quality, right? In this case, we need to reach out to the global community and gather the experts, or basically reach out to experts and get their voice heard, and put that all together and start an initiative. That's what I would think, rather than we actually focusing locally on this issue. That's my take on that.
Perhaps maybe a clarification, George. I mean, I know that there are many requirements and many parameters that might be looked at for this product. Right now, we're really focused on one particular parameter, which is really the nobility of the variety. So it's a quality parameter that we're looking at. And we're looking really at a methodology that could be considered in order to ascertain conformity with that statement, with the statement that these are the right varieties of kava that are included in this particular product. So now, of course, we have, I would say, one advantage in that the standard is already adopted. So we do have a standard already that is adopted by Codex. What we would like is to make sure that the standard is as relevant and as useful for those who want to use the standard. And that's why supplementing the standard with the right methodology that would enable those who want to check the conformity with the standard to do that in a manner that is reliable and in a manner that meets international standardization requirement, meaning CCMAS requirements for methods of analysis. So I guess perhaps to to leave this with the path forward that we could discuss later on, because we will not necessarily solve it here. But the contact has been established right now. I think this is what we wanted to achieve, which is ensuring that we are aware of the expertise that is available, the networks that are available, and we could maybe take as one of the next steps is to convene perhaps a dedicated meeting between the leadership team from Fiji, who has taken on this task to move forward with the development of this analytical protocol within the Codex process, and the expert team from the Southwest Pacific section. And again, we will rely on you, George, Stuart, and colleagues to call on the experts that are needed for this purpose to discuss the need and perhaps actually to see how we can address this with, of course, the starting point is that Fiji has already proposed a protocol. So we do have an initial method that was proposed for that purpose. We need, however, to make sure that this protocol fulfills the requirement of CCMAS, and therefore that when it gets examined by analytical experts, such as yourselves, because you are part of the Codex process, the method will meet the requirements, will fulfill the requirements. Basically, we want to maximize our chances for the endorsement of the method by CCMAS at its next meeting. So if you agree, we can take this as our next step. We've established the contact, and it will be upon us to organize this meeting. We're happy as IOFOST and GFORCE to contribute to facilitating this process. Considering that the timelines are very short, we can aim to have this meeting within the next couple of weeks, meaning in February, before the end of February, to ensure at least that the information exchange happens and a practical plan is put forward for the next step. Does that satisfy at least the group? I mean, feel free to comment if you wish. Any?
Yeah,
Yes?
I certainly support that, Sami. I think that would be a good initiative that would have a special session just to focus on that, and probably have some pre-read material, including the standards and what's been done so far, need to be reviewed before we start the next stage of the process. And certainly, as someone pointed out before, we need to have the methodology and endorsement, someone outside Codex, CCMAS, and say this is actually a fit for purpose. And we need to have the relevant data, and that whatever data that we have need to be reviewed. And if there is a gap, that we have to, mitigate that before we actually present that data back to CCMAS.
Thank you. Thank you very much, George, for your support to this. And again, in advance, thanks to the team from the Southwest Pacific section of AOAC, and also, again, an acknowledgement and a word of thanks to our colleagues from Fiji for your leadership on this. And we'll be happy to accompany this effort moving forward. Now, the second topic that we had for discussion, sorry, colleagues from Fiji, you wanted to intervene? Please. Fiji.
Thank you, Professor Sam, and the experts viewing these discussions. We really appreciate the move that Professor Sam has put forward. And I think we have the agreement from other CCNASWP members, because at this time we've been, it's more than 20 years we've been trying to put this through. We thank the Codex Secretariat for having this method adopted in 2020, but there's just a very little tiny aspects of the whole regional standard that needs to be modified and polished. And we appreciate the support from the AOEC experts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fiji, for your leadership on this. And really, we hope to have a suitable conclusion, satisfactory conclusion that meets all the requirements and that supports the kava production sector in Fiji and elsewhere in the region. The second topic that we had discussed, in fact, during the CCNASWP 17 is in relation to the second regional standard that was adopted also by CCNASWP as a regional standard, and that's the standard on Noni Juice. And perhaps to put the discussion in context, we had a conference room document that was developed and discussed during the current session of CCNASWP. So I'm sharing this conference room document 6, which is accessible from the Codex website, from the CCNASWP 17 web pages. And I'm recalling, in fact, the conclusion of this discussion paper. Just to, again, as a reminder for all those who are joining us and maybe do not have all the context around this. So again, this is another regional standard for Noni Juice that was adopted by Codex through the recommendation and the work of CCNASWP. We had an analytical method that was also included in the standard, and this analytical method was related to the determination of scopoletin in Noni Juice products. This analytical method was based on a thin layer chromatography, so a TLC method, and I believe it is primarily a qualitative method, mainly for the identification of scopoletin, maybe also semi-quantitative, but it's not fully a quantitative method that could be relied on or relied upon in order to help us determine scopoletin in Noni Juice. At the same time, it was recognized that the levels of scopoletin in Noni Juice can be a parameter of safety for these products. And to be able to have a fulsome safety assessment of these products and remove any issue of safety considerations around this product, therefore actually contributing to its availability, not only within the region, but potentially beyond the regional boundaries. There was the identification of the need to prioritize the assessment of scopoletin in Noni Juice from a safety assessment standpoint. Under the recommendation of another Codex committee, that is the Codex Committee on Contaminants in Food, scopoletin was included in the priority list for evaluation by the advisory body to Codex, and that is the JECFA, so the Joint FAO-WHO Expert Committee on Food Additives, that also addresses other substances than food additives, including what could be a contaminant and other chemicals. So again, this was in the priority list. However, to be able to act on this priority list, we need to have data. We need to have occurrence data of scopoletin in Noni Juice, and we need to have the data documented in a global database that is managed by FAO-WHO, that is the GEMS Food database. This is essentially what JECFA experts rely upon in order to do that assessment. So we have been discussing, and under the leadership of Samoa, Samoa worked on the development of a quantitative analytical method in the form of an HPLC photodiode methodology, so an LCUV method. And there was an initial effort of generation of data after documenting the validation parameters of this methodology. I believe about 50 products have been tested for scopoletin. And we do have, in fact, an initial bank of products that are available. In fact, and right now Samoa is taking the lead, at least on this particular effort, with the contribution and collaboration of various colleagues from the region. We wanted really to build on this effort and to continue efforts of validation of the method, perhaps even diversification of other analytical methods that could be relied upon for the generation of the data. One of the proposals that was included and discussed in this conference room document, so conference room documents 6, was the possibility of reliance on an LCMS or an LCMS-MS method. So you're really now using mass spectrometry as an approach of detection after separation with liquid chromatography. And in fact, of course, this effort was, or this diversification effort was identified after reviewing the literature, the scientific literature, as to the avenues that are out there for the determination, the quantitative determination of scopoletin. Now, the paper submitted here identified the fact that we want to further contribute to the documentation of the characterization of the method developed by colleagues in Samoa. So really continuing building on the validation report that is available. Contributing to perhaps round robin trials, so essentially sharing samples with different groups, and of course, after sharing the methodologies, gathering the results to further support the confirmation of the data that we have, but also use this as an opportunity of capacity building and look at the opportunity of developing an LCMS or an LCMS-MS method. So again, the idea of proceeding with an LCMS method or reliance on mass spectrometry, first, it's coming from the fact that mass spectrometry-based methods are becoming more and more common and becoming really the standard that is relied upon in analytical testing. Second, also that mass spectrometry-based methods give us more specificity, selectivity, perhaps even lower reliance on complex sample preparation procedures, because we have the opportunity of certainty with the mass spec fingerprinting, if you will, as opposed to relying only on a photodiode array detection. And if we have this effort of development and validation of a mass spec-based method, then also we could rely on this to further generate data with these methodologies. And we have proposed a path forward here, and this is what I wanted to share with you and open the dialogue around it. We wanted to see, will be basically work on supporting the development of this method, but also a collaboration around sample gathering that could complement the samples that exist within right now or at the disposal of our colleagues in Samoa, and actually contribute further to the generation of data using an LCMS or an LCMS-MS method. We are looking at an effort that will continue throughout 2025 and even beyond that if required. That would include also the contribution of a technology provider, and I don't know, we've invited, in fact, one of their representatives to join the session, the Waters Corporation, one of our contributors and supporters from the analytical community, has committed to supporting this effort as part of collaborations underway with the Global Food Regulatory Science Society. The Waters Corporation has a number of training facilities and application development laboratories in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly in Asia. There is a laboratory in Singapore and a laboratory in Mumbai, where we could rely on this collaboration in order to organize trainings and hands-on applications for experts from the region in order to conduct basically this analysis once the LCMS or the LCMS method is developed. Now, of course, this was the original plan. At the same time, through the discussions that took place here during CCNASWP 17, we've learned of the existence of a mass spectrometry center, I believe, in the University of South Pacific. And here maybe I'll give the floor to colleagues from Fiji to give us an idea about the capacity that is available. And looking really, again, the same approach, trying to build the synergies on what is available in the region. And here also I'm calling on colleagues that are online from the Southwest Pacific section of AOAC International. Now that you are aware of these plans, we would like to hear your input into these plans and whatever efforts, whatever collaboration we can call upon from you to enable this approach. I would like, before giving the floor first to our colleagues in Fiji and then online, I would like also to reiterate the commitment that we have pledged on the part of the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, a disciplinary group of IOFOST, and IOFOST being the International Union of Food Science and Technology and observing Codex, supporting food science and technology and supporting the activities of international standard setting. Our pledge is actually to continue to support this effort of capacity building in collaboration with all the analytical community in the region. So giving the floor first to Fiji, and then actually hearing back from colleagues online. So His Excellency, the Honorable Tomasi Tunabuna is requesting the floor, and we're going to give you the floor if you would like to comment first, and then give the floor back to colleagues from Fiji and colleagues online. So Fiji will give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sam. On Fiji's status, I think on the use of the high-tech laboratory equipment such as LCMS, currently we have the equipment, but we still need time for the necessary preparations in regards to calibrations, method validations, etc. So that might take a bit of time for us to fully prepare for the use and operations of those type of equipment. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiji. Your Excellency, you wish to take the floor, please.
Thank you. And to add on to, I think, the comment made from the officer in charge for the chemistry laboratory in Colombia, I think he did mention a valid point where a lot of our infrastructure that's required for this highly technical analysis requires the infrastructure that's still been under construction and renovation. And I think training, as you mentioned, is also important since in the past few years there has been quite a lot of movement of staff from within Fiji and also those who had moved away from Fiji. So I believe there is a lot of need in capacity building, especially in these highly technical areas of analysis. And I think a lot of collaboration needs to be also undertaken between the laboratories that we have, both within the ministry and also with academic institutions that we have. And I believe a lot had been done towards having them to work in collaboration, but there's still, I think, room where they can work together and also work with other testing facilities around the region, also probably outside the region. And I think I fully support the statement that's been stated by our colleagues from the Fiji Chemistry Laboratory. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your words of support. Perhaps also now opening up the floor, both online. I don't know if any reaction from Stuart, George, James, colleagues from the section, from the Southwest Pacific section of AOC International.
Samuel, I can make a couple of comments. I think as we look towards the future, we should be moving away from, the simple tests like thin layer chromatography or colorimetry that have the potential to give false positives or false negatives. And, like LC, LCMS, as you said, are becoming quite common nowadays. And under the Pacific Quality Infrastructure, for example, we were able to supply an LCMS to the National Public Health Laboratory in the Solomon Islands. So, there's certainly, and that was specifically for them to set up to do carbolactones in kava. So as we go forward into the future and the allocation of the more advanced laboratories as PEARLs, as the Pacific Island Reference Laboratories, I think, working on kava and Noni Juice would be an ideal project for them to demonstrate, that they are able to do the higher level in terms of instrumentation, the higher level method development, as well as undertake proficiency testing and statistically evaluate the results. And all of that data would be, needed for the submission that goes forward. And next month in Nadi in Fiji, the Pacific Quality Infrastructure will have a quality policy workshop. And I'll certainly be putting these ideas forward at the workshop and hoping that, we can get some support through the PQII.
Thanks very much, Stuart, for these comments. And again, I think the idea is to make sure that we have the best analytical tools at the disposal of the community, really to minimize any potential issues with the reliance on these tools, particularly in international trade considerations. So that's why really, making sure that we harness the best expertise that is available, the best tools that are available, but also taking into consideration the fact that we need to have analytical approaches that are accessible to the production sector, that are also affordable to the production sector, but also fulfilling all the requirements from conformity assessment, from a conformity or from use, from a fit for purpose for conformity assessment activities standpoint. Now, I guess I'm really open to see any comments on the plan forward. We heard again that there is some capacity of LCMS that is available within the region. There is also a developing capacity that exists, and we would like really to foster such developments further. In the meantime, in fact, one of the good news, I guess, that we have right now for this project in particular is that we have a commitment of a technology provider, at least one, but we may have others, to support this effort and to enable collaboration with the method development itself and the method validation, but also the transfer, the technology transfer, the knowledge transfer, including a capacity building program. Now, we will be relying, of course, on the collaboration of these technology providers, both the availability of funding moving forward, with also the commitment of the experts in the region. So the identification of these experts in the region to be willing to be part of this training efforts and the knowledge sharing effort, with the idea that the methods that will be developed could be adopted by various laboratories in the region. We want to build also on the efforts made by our colleagues in Samoa, because again, there is already a method that has been characterized, and we would like, again, to make sure that this method is fully documented, potentially propagated, shared, and actually we contribute also to confirming the results that were obtained. There is also another level of effort that I'm going to be sharing and calling upon you to contribute to, and that is the collection of additional samples of Noni Juice, and actually maintaining the leadership that we have, from Samoa kindly agreed to keep on leading this effort. So making sure that Noni Juice samples are collected from the community of Pacific Islands, where Noni Juice is available for sale, making sure that we complement the initial bank of products that we have, because that will lead us to more data points to support the JECFA assessment. Okay, we need to have a critical mass of data points in the GEMS food database for JECFA to move forward with this particular assessment. So I think right now we have 50 data points. We need probably maybe three times more data points that would allow us really to have a good a good portrait of the situation of occurrence of scopoletin in Noni Juice products. So this is a collaborative initiative that will be driving forward in the upcoming period. And as I mentioned, we're looking to have the full contribution and collaboration of the Southwest Pacific section of AOAC International. So thanking you in advance for that and making sure that we're having you involved in this. Also looking upon you, colleagues, to perhaps help us harness any other initiative that could help us in this goal. Now, we all know of the targeted objective, and of course, the collaboration of all colleagues from the South Pacific nations for the collection of samples, and your willingness to contribute to this knowledge sharing, technology transfer efforts. And again, also thanks the advance thanks to the technology providers who are willing to contribute. So far, we have had the commitment of the Waters Corporation as a first technology provider in this area. Now, looking at the time, we've reached actually beyond 7 p.m. here in Fiji, and practically the committed time for this side event. We've reached practically the 2 hours time. I'm going to actually now look upon the participants for any comments, any concluding remarks that you would like to make. So open the floor to all of you before concluding this event. Australia, Scott, please.
Thank you, Samuel. I'll jump in. Just to say thank you very much for taking the initiative to organize this event. It's been really informative for me, and I think it's great to hear those comments from Stuart about taking forward the discussion about Noni Juice and kava, etc., within the context of the Pacific Quality Infrastructure Initiative discussions, because I think if we can kind of align the objectives of this room with some of these other activities that are happening across the region, then that has the potential to really help with trade in these products that we are standardizing in Codex. So I think this is fantastic to bring everyone together, and then of course just to then also reflect and reiterate on your point that I think it's going to be I think this forward plan is fantastic. It sounds like there's definitely an opportunity in the region to develop additional methods, but also to use this process to really continue to strengthen confidence in the method that's already been validated by Samoa, and so that down the track, depending on what happens with JECFA's analysis, we're in a position to select multiple tests that might be implementable in the region. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Australia. Any other comments in the room? Comments online? Oh, sorry, comments in the room. Sorry, Your Excellency. So His Excellency, the Assistant Minister of Agriculture and Waterways of the Government of Fiji, the Honorable Tomasi Tunabuna, please.
Thank you. Again, this will be on behalf of the Government of Fiji and also on behalf of the Minister for Agriculture. Let me again extend our gratitude for the support that's been given to the region and also to Fiji. Noni and Fava, I think these two of our products that normally try and penetrate into the world market, and I believe a lot of our Pacific Island nations have also got traditional drinks and a traditional food that will require codex and also the support from Australia, New Zealand, the US, in terms of how we can get our products into the international market, especially when we have our countrymen living in those countries that we normally would want to trade with and get our products across to them. We look forward to these cooperations that we have established in the past and have been supported from international organizations like Codex, and we're grateful to have been engaged in the last 2 terms as being chairmanship of Codex for the region. And again, with the developments that I have just come to know this afternoon, we look forward to working and also supporting the initiatives for the region especially. And for that, again, on behalf of the Government of Fiji and on behalf of the Minister, I wish to thank you and also the participants for this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'm going to use your words as the concluding remarks for this side event. Once again, on behalf of all the participants, we would like to reiterate our thanks and our gratitude to the Government of Fiji for hosting the CCNASWP 17, for including hosting this event, for your commitment to supporting standardization of food products and promoting food and agriculture in the region. I would like also to thank all the colleagues from the Southwest Pacific section of AOAC International for your leadership and all the information that you shared with us. We're looking forward to further collaboration and hopefully the establishment and the maintenance of strong bridges between your community and the community of regulators that exists within the region. I would like to thank all colleagues from the Global Food Regulatory Science Society, wherever they are, who contributed in facilitating this event in Canada, in Lebanon, in Tunisia, and in Egypt. Thank you very much for your support. And with this, we reach the conclusion of this side event. Thank you very much for your contribution.